We're all vibing to the whole music right there.
Such a vibe.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Joe Milton is on the move. All eyes are on Drake, and upon his return, Josh McDaniels finally spoke. So much to get to in a brand new Six Rings and Football Things with Maye, Shime, and Fitzy. Here we go.
Hey, whatever it takes, man. It's all about winning, all right? Winning on three. 1, 2, 3, win!
Celebrating the heroes of Foxborough's past.
Anna with a good block. Look at Grover. All the way. Watch the block of number 73, John Hanna.
The champions of the dynastic era.
Adam Vinatieri booms a 48-yard field goal, and the Patriots are Super Bowl champions.
The Patriots of tomorrow.
We're going to remove entitlement from our football team. We're going to earn the right to be here every single day.
And the fans whose faith never wavers. This is Six Rings and Football Things.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? It is time for some Six Rings and Football Things. So much football to talk, so little time. Your old pal Nick Fitzy Stevens here at the helm, and my Spock and Sulu on the day. Of course, the fabulous Miss Megan Onalini. Mega, what up?
What's going on? Okay, Six Rings Dynasty in the chat. Already saying I look like every basic white girl who's had too much tequila. How did you know I was drinking tequila last night?
Wow, I didn't know we had a spirit whisperer in the chat. Speaking of spirits,
my husband?
Oh, you found his burner. And hey, everybody, look who's here. Shime time. What's up, buddy?
What's up, dudes? How are ya?
How are you? That's fantastic. Oh, look at this. Stephen Tower, one of our regulars here, currently watching live. Of course, you can always subscribe and download Six Rings and Football Things via Spotify, Apple Pods, or the Odyssey app, or you can watch live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Stephen Tower, nice. A lunchtime Six Rings. Great taste and less filling. Absolutely. Here we go, guys. Let's just get right into it. Justin Time Prager, who's watching live on Facebook right now. I'll be the first to say it. Big mistake. Let's go right there, straight off the bat. The Joe Milton trade. It's one of those moments in recent Patriots history you're absolutely going to remember where you were. Not that it was so awesome, so memorable. It just sort of came out of the blue. I was walking my dog at 10:15, and all of a sudden, like, they traded Joe Milton? What? A fifth, and they're sending a seventh back? It's like I remember where I was when they traded Garoppolo. I was getting in my buddy's car outside of the old Entercom in Brighton after we'd recorded a podcast. It was on my way home to see the kids, and somebody was like, wait a second, you're not going to believe this shit. Hold on. They just traded Garoppolo. Like, they did? How many firsts do we get? A second. Oh, why do the Patriots always want to give away quarterback, Shime?
Because he's not good. He was a 6th-round pick. He won a game that didn't matter where the Bills were trying to lose and playing practice squad guys, and everybody was horned up like it was the next coming of Tom Brady. Just because it happened once with the greatest quarterback in the history of football means it's never going to happen again. And so, like, people are nuts, man. I don't get it.
Okay, yeah, people are nuts, Mego, but you draft him in the 6th round last year. You take a flyer on the guy that everyone talks about, says has a cannon for an arm, hyper athletic, not the smartest saw in the toolbox, but definitely has the athletic prowess to be able to at least try to compete at the next level. You know, everyone loves old Joey backflips, Bazooka Joe. And the backup quarterback's always the sexiest or most popular guy in town, right? Mm-hmm. You take him in the 6th, you showcase him enough in preseason and in the finale against the UFL Bills, right? Now, so Joe Milton now has a rising stock. There's talk of trading him. Maybe you hold on to him for a year longer, in my estimation, so you can see if you can put him in a few more preseason games and then actually get a little greater value. But to move up like 10 spots this year in the draft, like, it feels like the ROI was crap. That's the thing that bothers me. We'll get into the is Drake Maye soft, or did Drake Maye order the code red in a second, but this is just cruddy ROI on somebody you drafted last year. You basically just swapped him out for a 6th.
Yeah, it feels like pretty even return, all things considered, when you're sending out the 7th along with him. And I guess I just come down to a little bit more where Shime is coming from, which is I don't think that Joe Milton is as great as a lot of people around here seem to think. And so I think that the Patriots knew that, and they had Josh Dobbs. The writing was on the wall that they were going to move him.
That's what Ted Johnson said, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they had a lot of conversations about how that would work. It seems that Joe Milton wanted to go somewhere else where he could also compete because he has all the confidence in the world in himself, which is great for him.
Mhm.
And so they found somewhere that worked. The only real issue that I find personally, like my opinion, is this report that they had better returns available possibly, and they let him go to the Cowboys because that's where he wanted to go.
Well, so
It's
didn't
a very
Breer
nice
then clarify
idea.
that this morning? That like he
Sorry?
said that didn't Breer, I think Breer either this morning or last night said that what he hears is this was the only actual offer that they got for Joe
Okay.
Milton, that they were talking to other teams, but this was the only actual offer that was on the table.
Okay, so you take the offer that's there.
Mhm.
And again, like I side a little more on Shime's side of the street, which is I don't think he's that great. I think he is gonna be a backup, a career backup. I don't think he's gonna be a starter. And I think it's always an awkward position when you have two quarterbacks who are in the same class. Joe Milton's also 25. If you hold on to him for another year, I'm not sure the price is going to get any higher. And then the team that would be trading for him would have less control. And so you might get a worse return at that point.
Now, did you guys buy into anything that Ben Volen put in the Globe on Thursday saying that a league source told him that Maye's family was unhappy they took another quarterback in the same draft and that they felt like the dynamic there was could have led to potential irritation and that it wasn't best for Drake. I don't think Drake is soft by any stretch of the imagination, and a little competition can go a long way. But do we think like there really was the potential for a Zappy Jones dynamic between the two of them? Like, I'm the starter. No, I should be the starter. Hey, look at me. I'm the captain. No, I'm the captain now. Or is this just Mike Vrabel's like, I see this guy's got a limit. He's an oversized Michael Bishop. I don't need any headaches. Let's go let him see if he thinks he can start somewhere else. If that's the case, okay. But you do run the risk, Shime, of he's not going to be Brady. But like, if he actually is good enough, like a year or two from now to start, like, don't you think it's going to be potentially like, oh, egg all over their face?
No, not at all. Like you have your guy. You picked this guy number 3 overall. He's good. You've seen him play football. You know he's good. Like it's time to move forward with him. Joe Milton's not going to be good. He's not going to be a starter in the NFL. He might get like a spot start or two. He's not a starter. I'm sorry. There was a reason he was drafted in the 6th round less than 12 months ago. Like this is not a guy who was, it's not even like the Kirk Cousins, Robert Griffin III scenario where Cousins was taken in the 3rd round, like a legitimate quarterback prospect.
4th.
Was it the 4th round? Either way, 3rd, 4th round. But they viewed him as a legitimate prospect. Joe Milton was taken in the 6th round. Like if the Patriots didn't take him, there's a chance he goes undrafted. And so I think this is asinine. I think it's insane to assume that Drake Maye's family was like upset that he got drafted there, especially because everything leaked from that team all of last year, and we never heard that once. Never once was anybody upset that Joe Milton also got drafted the same year as Drake Maye. And all of a sudden now it's coming out. Like I find that very, very hard to believe.
I actually would believe that his family wouldn't be thrilled. I think it's a pretty normal reaction for any player, a quarterback, that somebody in the same class that they would take another quarterback is a little odd. But that said, the other piece which Ben Volen put in there, which was that Drake Maye didn't talk to us, the media, after Week 18's game when he didn't play the majority of that game. I thought that was irrelevant. And from my perspective of being in that locker room last year, I didn't perceive any notion that there was real competition between Joe Milton and Drake Maye. So I think that part is very much irrelevant. But the piece of his family, maybe perhaps somebody bristled a little bit at that. I think that's very common. Like, I don't think that is something that anybody, if it's true, that anybody should hold against Drake Maye, because I think anyone's family for the most part would do that. Oh, he's the number 3 overall pick, so why are you taking another guy? And a guy who has all this ability to go viral on the internet and social media all the time. It's just kind of like this flashy thing. And so, yeah, in 2 parts, like part of that report I would totally buy, and the other part I thought was just irrelevant.
Yeah, see, like to me, like if Joe Milton was disruptive, which again would just be a shock because I would imagine that he was grateful for the opportunity to showcase any talents last year, preseason or Week 18. if Joe Milton was being a pain in the ass. I'd be stunned that like that the team that was not, I won't say kind enough or nice enough, but the team that had enough faith in him, maybe one of the best Elliott Wolf draft picks of last year's garbage draft class thus far. We'll get into any faith that the new regime has in those players in the back half momentarily, because I know you had a chance to speak with Todd Downing and you were at Josh McDaniels' presser on Thursday, Mego. I would just find it hard to believe that, you're allowed to have confidence in yourself. You're allowed to have belief and faith that you're good enough to be a starter in the NFL. But if Joe Milton was walking around, just saying like, I should be the starter, or like, this should be my football, I almost borderline refuse to believe that he was that big a pain in the ass, or that he was that difficult to deal with. Comes across as a pretty affable guy to me, and I don't believe that's just some sort of media facade.
No, I think it's far more likely Mike Vrabel walked into the building, was like, this kid can't play. We don't need him on the roster, which is exactly why they signed Josh Dobbs immediately in free agency. They're like, I want a guy I trust. He can come in if my quarterback gets hurt, he can come in and be competent. And it's a guy that I know. They're familiar with each other from 2022 in Tennessee. It's like, I think that's all it is. You want a veteran to help guide the young Drake Maye, and not another guy who thinks he could possibly be the starting quarterback. Like, that's just not what you want for a young quarterback who you're trying to make your franchise. That's just a smart decision. And getting a fifth back for a guy you took in the 6th round is improvement. Like, that is it small ROI? Sure. But you were never getting a 3rd round pick for him, or a 4th round pick. No. Like, if there was a better offer, the Patriots would have taken it. And that's why they dealt him. That's that simple.
And I think people from the outside do get worked up because, again, what they see from Joe Milton is the preseason and then a week 18 game in which he was playing against other backups, and the other team, frankly, didn't really have anything to gain from it. And so they look at him and go, oh, that guy, like, he's pretty good. What was it, like 240 something yards, and he's got a touchdown in that win? Like, that's not bad. I thought this guy was supposed to be out of control. He has no accuracy. He can't be a starter. Like, I think the Patriots have seen enough from him to know that this is going to be the high selling point. And so I don't hate the return as measly as it might be.
Yeah, I was hoping that my whole thing was one more season, couple preseason games. Maybe he gets in at some point.
But maybe he looks a lot worse.
He could. Maybe that was the best he could have looked, because he was going against a 3rd string team. And what would it look like if he actually went against a more competitive 1st string Buffalo Bills defense, or another defense from the AFC East, or anyone else overall? Yeah, I know he threw the 2nd hardest pass in the NFL last year on that, touchdown.
By the way.
What's that?
Wasn't that pass incomplete?
It was either incomplete or it came back with a flag, but he like rolled around for 11 seconds and then threw a freaking missile. That's great. Yeah. And he can throw the ball 85 yards. Drake can throw it 82. I get it. I guess I was just being more hopeful that the Pats had like not even sifted in the river, but had just like reached their hand in the sand and like found a piece of gold, and like, or may have found something more valuable than it was. Like, we were talking about baseball cards before the show, Shime. Like maybe this one could have come back like with a PS grade of 9 or 10, and it comes back a 7. It's like, well, it's a rare card, so because the quarterbacks are rare, but it's just not that valuable. So we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, I think too, the Robert Kraft saying we have 2 quarterbacks thing isn't helping the situation.
No,
like,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, like that's just not helping the situation, because he just fed into fan mania, fan hysteria.
That's literally a new segment on the show, Shime. Fanning the flames.
Yes. Oh, well done. Good job.
Yeah, thank you very much. Every now and again, I can turn a phrase. Just like our pal Robert Louis Steele IV, who's watching live right now on Facebook. Hey, Mego, still keeping these dorks honest? Yes, she is. Yes, she
Absolutely
is.
Trying.
And she's doing her absolute best. Well, we know what you had to say, Pats fans, because you flooded the lines of sports radio on Thursday. You jumped all over the socials and you voiced your feelings. But if you want to weigh in any further, you can always holler at us at 6 Rings Pod. You know how to find Shime Time. Mego and I, we're here on 6 Rings and Football Things. And coming up in the back end of the podcast, there was more going on yesterday than just people calling Drake soft and wondering why there wasn't more returned for Joe Milton. We had some of the coaches on offense speaking down at Gillette Stadium, and we got some fresh intel because we had somebody embedded, right? Well, she wasn't really embedded. She just showed her credential, and she showed up, and they were like, oh, hey, Mego, are you going to keep these dorks honest? So, all right, here we go. Back end of second half of this week's latest Six Rings and Football things here. Make sure you guys download using Spotify, the Apple Pods, or use the Odyssey app and listen to that, or WEEI at your convenience. Mego, you were at Gillette Stadium on Thursday for the Josh McDaniels reintroduction. What did you think about what Josh had? An older, wiser looking, more experienced Josh McDaniels. I kind of like the vest and the graying hair. It looks like a humbled Josh McDaniels took to the podium yesterday. What were your first thoughts?
First thoughts, look like he lost some LBs. So he was looking healthy. Thought he was looking slim, looks locked in. And I think you're right. Like the humble Josh McDaniels, he's not the first person to strike out on a couple head coaching jobs in the NFL. Like that's how it goes. But I thought that it was interesting, the perspective that he seemed to hint at being away from an NFL coaching job completely over the last year and then being somewhere else before that. I'm very curious to see what kind of offense he starts rolling out with these guys in mini camp and especially in training camp.
Shime, now where would you put your level? I don't remember if you were like, because I know you always wanted a different, more progressive coordinator, somebody that came from outside the family, didn't want to retread things. I'm a McDaniels apologist. I think he can work with anybody, and it's not just that he's back where he was. I'm kind of excited to see A, what he can do with Drake, and B, what this faith-based journey revisionist McDaniels can do now that he took some time off, visited a bunch of schools, and is sort of tweaking the McDaniels playbook. We'll get to that in a second. But do you feel any better about McDaniels being back in town now, or are you still just sort of meh on the whole idea?
No, I'm still kind of meh on the whole idea. I need to see snaps before I'm going to determine whether I'm in or out again. Like I hated the signing in the first place. I was not one that wanted this at all. I wanted nothing to do with it, but it's here and it is what it is. So now I will wait until they actually take snaps on a football field to decide whether I feel, stronger about my opinion or if I'm going to change my mind. Like just because he stands up at a press conference is like, yeah, I went on a spirit journey and talked to other college coaches and NFL programs and stuff. I'm like, Mike McCarthy did the same thing. And that got him a head coaching job with the Dallas Cowboys and he sucked. Like, it's shit. Like, okay, cool.
Well, he got 12 wins on the regular. He just couldn't win in the postseason.
Well, yeah, because their roster was really good. Not because Mike McCarthy was good. The offensive coordinator that used to be in Dallas is now a head coach, and Mike McCarthy is not. Like, there's a reason for that. And so cool. I'm glad you had a bit of a vision quest. Hopefully it works out and things are different, but I'm not convinced.
Oh, there's some Pats fans making some noise in the background right now. Oh, no.
My dog is acting completely ridiculous. She's never done this on the podcast.
No, I absolutely love this. That's the voice
Josh
of
McDaniels defender.
She's very upset about the fact that Shime is clapping at Josh McDaniels. While your beautiful dog gets its feelings straight. Let's hear from Josh McDaniels yesterday at Gillette Stadium talking about something I think is very interesting. The question was posed to him, updating the terminology in his playbook. If he in fact did go on this football faith journey to figure out exactly how and why he wants to call plays and updating it for the modern athlete, is the playbook going to literally look and sound the same, since supposedly people said it was very difficult to comprehend? Here's a snippet of what he had to say.
We have a language, and every offensive system, defensive system has a language. So you have to decide the way you want to speak in terms of calling things and naming things, and whether you use numbers, protections, or you use words, or however you do what you do. So our language has been refined a little bit between last year with the time that I had, and then this spring with the coaches. I think that's really getting streamlined. And so these guys have done a tremendous job of helping us streamline it so that what's most important is that the play.
So there you go. All right. So he's trying to make it streamlined and make it digestible. Now, I've heard in the last decade, I have heard streamlined in the negative, and I've heard streamlined in the positive. In the positive, I heard in 2018 that Brian Flores streamlined the Matt Patricia defense and tried to make things more palatable, more digestible. And what did we have in 2018? A dynamic Patriots defense that served up and saved its best performance for Super Bowl 53, an all-time defensive Super Bowl performance. Philadelphia Eagles would like to be heard from as well, but those garbage touchdowns mean nothing. And then on the negative side, oddly enough, involving Matt Patricia once again, in 2022, we heard about, we're streamlining things to make it more complicated. And the funny thing was, all they did was confuse the crap out of everybody, and thus you led to the frustrations and dissolution of Mac Jones at the Patriots offense, and sadly enough, Belichick's coaching career. So, Shime, will a streamlined Josh McDaniels offense with some tweaks at new iterations and things that will facilitate the productivity and growth of Drake Maye excite you? Could I interest you in that a little bit?
No. Okay, cool. Streamlining is great. Like, it's just, honestly, it's not, I don't even know that it's McDaniels that's saying that, because Mike Vrabel said the same thing when he started as the head coach. In his introductory press conference, he said, we're going to give the players what they can handle. And when they prove they can handle it, we'll give them more. And so to me, this is just a reiteration of what Mike Vrabel has already said. So like, I don't even know that the offense is actually going to be all that streamlined. It's just going to be like, all right, here's the basics of it. We're going to give it to you. Once you can do it, then we'll give you more, and they'll just build on that and go and kind of go forward from there.
Okay, fair enough. He did say that he was smitten by working with Drake Maye.
I love that.
Yeah, that smitten was a nice choice of words.
That almost won me over.
Okay, so he almost won you over by saying that he was smitten with Drake Maye. How about the fact that he called Steph Diggs a unique player?
That immediately threw me back off. Didn't love that.
Oh, damn it. McDaniels almost has you 1 minute and then he loses you the next.
Well, you got to play into me. You know, I am the most smitten man on the planet when it comes to Drake Maye. So, you play into me that way. But as soon as you call your new wide receiver a unique character, that to me is a red flag. So, it immediately threw me off the scent there a little bit.
Do you think that now, once we've learned some of the details of the Steph Diggs contract, that there are all these injury outs the Patriots can enact and almost kind of pay next to nothing for him? I believe he'll be out there week 1. Looks great in the rehab process now. Obviously, we still have a long way to go till meaningful football in September, but are you expecting him to make an immediate impact? And do you think he'll be, would you just hazard a guess that he'll be an integral part of the McDaniels offense and out there week 1?
I think that's certainly the intention. It worries me a little bit because there is such incentive to have him out there week 1 that my big concern is that he rushes back and then there's frustration because he's there too early and he's not even, 80% of himself, because we know it can take these guys quite a while. They'll come back from an ACL injury in 9 months, but it might take them a year and a half before they really feel like themselves.
Right.
So that's the only real spot of concern for me for him. It was really interesting talking to Todd Downing yesterday, the wide receivers coach, because he coached Diggs in 2018 when they were both with the Vikings and he was an offensive assistant. Right. And so I asked him, how different was it when you met with Steph on kind of a recruiting visit a couple weeks ago in Foxborough? And he talked about the maturity that he sees there, to the point where he really feels like he could be a leader in this locker room. And it's just such an interesting swing to me from, character concerns. This is a guy who's a fiery competitor, and how will he work with a quarterback who's just going into his second year, to now saying, I've known this guy from 2018 to now, and I think that he's what the locker room needs. Like, he can be a leader. He's 31 years old now. In terms of the streamlined language, because I think that's what Josh McDaniels is really talking about, I think that's him looking at the room that he has right now on offense and saying, we got to make sure that our younger guys who are in their third year and going into their second year, that they can get with this program quickly, because I just need this to be an actionable offense. And so that means that I need to find something from Jalen Polk. I need to find something a lot from Pop Douglas. And some of that might come from, okay, we're starting with a slimmed down kind of language, making sure everybody's on the same page. And then if you get that, we're going to build on from there and on from there and on from there.
So, Shine, I got some audio from Todd Downing from yesterday I want to share, but quickly, I wanted to just get your spin. I believe that Steph Diggs was signed just as much for what he'll be able to do on field, because him on 1.5 wheels is still better than any other receiver they have in that room right now. And if he's on 1 3/4 good wheels by the start of the season, I think he'll be an effective outlet and a confidence builder for Drake Maye. Maybe not doing for him what he did for Josh Allen a couple years ago, but certainly still giving him the confidence that there's a dog, there's an alpha, and there's somebody that's going to do their best to fight for every yard and every reception. I'm most excited about what Steph Diggs can do in that room, basically going in and telling everyone else, like, y'all got to raise your game, because if you want targets, you got to go through me. And so, like, the experience and attitude, I think, can be a plus. I don't think he's going to turn them all into a bunch of bad apples. Hopefully,
They're
he can
already
turn.
bad apples.
They're already bad apples. They're already borderline rotten. So maybe he can find a way to turn one or two of them into an actual badass, less a bad apple.
Yeah, and I lean more in your direction. I was more frustrated with the organization at the signing than I was the actual player. Like, I like Steph Diggs. I think he can be a good player, but the key here is that he's healthy. Because I think if he's not actually playing, it's going to be really hard for him to put those younger receivers in place, because they're just be like, Unc, you ain't even out here, like, buzz off. Whereas if he's out there getting 10 catches for 85 yards and a touchdown on a week-to-week basis or whatever, he's going to be like, look, get in your place. Like,
right.
Watch how a real professional does this, learn from me, and then figure it out. And I think that's where the value is if he's on the field. As long as he's on the field, he becomes an asset to your football team. But that's the key, especially with all the more and more we learn about this contract from like Florio and stuff, the more and more I am concerned that he's not going to be out there for like the first month of the season. And then you're already getting into bad habits with these young receivers, and then things can go awry.
Got you. And speaking of those receivers, to your point, Mego, about Todd Downing, who is the new wide receivers coach. Yes. Nice to actually have somebody that's been in the league for a while coaching at a high level, as opposed to somebody who had been coaching high school 2 years prior as your freaking wide receivers coach.
It is his first his first season as a wide receivers coach in the NFL, though. He's been an offensive assistant. He's worked with quarterbacks. So I also asked him, like, do you think you're going to be in conjunction with some of the quarterback room at all? And he kind of sidestepped that. So we'll see.
That's okay. But one thing he didn't sidestep was dealing with the young receivers and trying to figure out what exactly he can do with them. And you know me, as a Javon Baker stan, the popcorn is ready. I'm excited to hear that he's excited.
How do you view those guys? How do you view Jalen and Javon and some of the other wide receivers?
You know, it's one of the reasons I was really excited to accept this job. You know, there's a lot of talent and young talent in that room. And I think that fresh start mentality that we were discussing earlier gives everybody a chance to kind of say, I'm going to bring my skill set and see where I can develop it. You know, and we talk a lot as a staff, and I'll talk to the players when they're back. They're going to get out of it what they put into it, you know, and so if they bring their skill set and don't put very much work into it, that skill set probably won't show up very much. But if they work hard, if they're diligent about trying to learn the system, if they're selfless and they work to be good team.
All right, there you go. You're going to get out of it what you put in. Act like an adult, put in the work, grind your ass off. Maybe something can happen. And if you're just going to be a fool and go Instagram live and think that you're better than you are, which kind of ties back maybe into the Joe Milton thing, then there's not going to be a place for you. So, Shime, is there any chance this combination of a more mature year two Drake Maye, the revitalized, spiritualized Josh McDaniels, Todd Downing, and all the other adults in the room, everyone take a shot. I said it once in the podcast. Can these guys finally get something out of all these other prospects and players that ain't done squat on the Patriots yet?
Maybe. I would hope so. I'm not confident. Like, I think there's just a chance that these guys aren't good. And it's like, it's not that they need to grow. And Elliot Wolf was, you know, saying like, we didn't have a lot of internal development, or maybe Elliot, you just picked the wrong guys. Like, maybe if you had just stayed where you were in the second round and taken Ladd McConkey, things would just be different. And I think that feels more likely to me, which is, again, another reason why I think Stefon Diggs being on the field is so important, because just by pushing those guys down the depth chart more, it makes it easier to compete. When it's, you know, Steph Diggs, Mac Hollins, and Pop Douglas, it's like, okay, like, we can work with this. But then when it's, you know, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and Pop Douglas with like Mac Hollins mixed in, that's when I find myself very concerned.
Yeah, I think this wide receiver room is going to be fascinating through training camp, because especially if they end up with Travis Hunter by some miracle at number 4, or they go and get a receiver somewhere else in this draft, they could find themselves with an odd man out scenario that could be Javon Baker, probably not going to be Jalen Polk because of where he was drafted, could be Kendrick Bourne. So it's something to watch certainly through the summer.
Yeah, and people keep bringing up in the chat right now, Jason Broussard watching live on YouTube. Don't forget about Kayshon Boutte, who's only 22 years old. He actually was pretty reliable last year as well. He might elevate his game. There's somebody who may benefit from Steph Diggs. All of them could benefit from Steph Diggs and McDaniels and Todd Downing as well. I don't think Javon Baker gets cut. I don't know about Jalen Polk. Kendrick Bourne could easily be a trade candidate. We'll see. Shime, last question real quick because we got to wrap up here. Your first was this your first mock or your second that got published at .com?
This is my third mock, 3.0.
Your third mock. Okay,
yes,
so
sir.
this is, and you can always read everything that Mego publishes at weei.com. She's got an excellent article out there right now. As a matter of fact, on Steph Diggs, I want to get the title correct. It is Patriots coach sees Stefon Diggs as, quote, fully ready to lead. So that's Mego's latest at .com. Shime with mock 3.0. I haven't read it yet. Go ahead and spoil it for me and the audience. How does it start?
It starts with the trade for the first overall pick. I think the Browns move up one spot and take Cam Ward with the first overall pick. The Tennessee Titans take Abdul Carter at 2. The New York Giants take Travis Hunter at 3. And the New England Patriots take, as Rich Keefe would say, best hoss available, Will Campbell
at 4th. Do you have them trading back into the first round as I've hoped and wanted and wished?
So I don't currently, because when I heard the comments from Robert Kraft that they need a speed back, to me, they will probably be able to get that guy at 38, and that's, I think, their target. I think Mike Vrabel loves both of those Ohio State running backs.
I do too.
To him, at 38, if he can get either one, he's thrilled, and he moves on from there. And he goes offensive line, running back to start his draft, since he went so heavy on defensive free agency.
And there's some good tight ends that you can pick up to develop behind Hunter and Hoopa later on as well. Some decent receiver prospects. I don't know if you're a Jaden Higgins guy or if you like.
I like Jalen Noel. I'm a burner.
Jalen Noel.
I like a burner.
And who's the kid? Who's the kid out of Washington State as well? Whose name has been rising up the charts? His Kyle something or other. His name has been bottle rocketing the last couple of weeks. I'll just say for the record, I heard earlier on Jones and Keefe, they were doing some draft preview, and they are not huge fans of my guy. They rather prefer Quinshon Judkins of those two Ohio State wide receivers. Straight up, no joke. TreVeyon Henderson to me is the answer, the truth, and the idea.
He is an explosion waiting to happen.
He could take every single carry to the house. He's Kareem Hunt. His pro comp is Kareem Hunt with upside and speed. Hasn't fumbled either. So Keefe texted me back and he's like, oh, good. Fast Ben Jarvis. Yes, that's fine. Somebody who's not afraid to work the tackles, doesn't put the ball on the carpet, and has home run speed. Let's go. Kyle Washington. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
I also think TreVeyon Henderson, it's just like big play waiting to happen, right? Like there's just an opportunity there for far more explosion and far more success. I think Judkins is more of I'm just going to give him the rock and try and get 3 yards every time. And he's fast and explosive, and I like Judkins, but to me, Henderson is if you want to take a home run swing at a running back of the two, it's Henderson.
Love it. All right. There we go. On that note, folks, we will leave you with a little optimism, something to hope, want, and wish for in a couple of weeks. Shime, I'm not sure if you're going to be in with me and Arcand or Mego. If you're coming in, we got the draft night show on the radio live. Hart and Johnson will be out in Green Bay from the draft, and we will be manning it, locking it down from the studio, keeping you guys up to date, informed, and so much more. Please give these guys a follow. Enjoy all of their work. He's at Shime Time on the Greg Hill Morning Show. This is at Megan_Ottolini and the pup. And of course, you can listen to my friends on the weekends here on WEEI. For everyone involved at WEEI Addison 2400 Sports, thank you for listening to the latest Six Rings and football things. We will talk to you guys soon. Subscribe, tell your friends, hop in live anytime. Happy to have you here in the football tub. Until then, good day, God bless, and as always,